Hello, I'm Leif from Anything Camera. It's a channel that focuses on helping you improve your filming and photography. And in today's video, it's going to be all about editing green screen footage. And I might be looking at this window here and be thinking, and why am I not in the effects panel where you normally edit green screen footage? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Editing green screen footage is just taking a color out of an image. So instead of going to the effects panel, I'm going to stay in the colors panel mostly, because that is where we should be, because all we're doing is removing colors, and the colors panel will give you a lot more flexibility in doing this. Alright, so I want to first start by looking at waveforms, because this is very important to a good green screen key. As you can see, this thick line right here in the green waveform, that's our green screen. And if you look at the blue and the red, you can also see that there is some blue and red mixed in with the green screen, but that's not a problem. It's very low. I wouldn't worry about it. Anything in between here you can see this is my torso, and the spike up, that's my head. Now, you can see that there are tones in the green screen and in my skin that mix, and that's gonna be a problem. Now, I understand this looks pretty good and you could get a decent key out of this, but we can make it better. Our goal needs to be to separate this line from my skin tones. And I will have to say it is best to do this while you are filming this by increasing or decreasing the light on your green screen. You still can do it in the editor by isolating this green and raising it up. How do you do this? It's actually very, very simple. Go over to the Lumetri Colors panel with your clip selected that you want to edit and go to RGB curves and then come down to hue versus luma and click on your green line, which is the second thicker line across, and then click on the two faint lines next to it to add 2 anchor points, and now drag up the luminance of your green and watch that. Look at that. The green is now separating itself from the rest of the image. Isn't that really cool? Now my face and all my skin tones are separated from my green screen line. There's an issue you might not have noticed, and that is that our green screen line is curved. And that's a little bit of a problem, because that means on the right side, it's darker than in the middle, and then on the left side, it's also a touch darker than in the middle, but the left side is a little bit brighter than the right side. That's not the end of the world. It can be dealt with, but the straighter this line is, the better. So just before you film any video, make sure that this line is as straight as possible. And this curve isn't bad, but we could be doing better. So let's move on to how to actually remove this color now that we have the green separated from my skin tones. I'm going to click on Effects, and I'm going to look up Ultra Key Effect. And I'm going to grab the Ultra Key Effect and slap it on my clip. Next, I'm going to go over to Effects Control, and I'm going to go down to the Ultra Key Effect in Effects Control, and I'm going to grab the eyedropper. Next, I'm going to take this eyedropper, and I'm going to click on the image. And you can see the green disappears. It just vanishes. But you might notice that there's some issues over here. Now, this is simple to remove this. What you're going to want to do is undo what you just did, and see this output. You're going to want to change it from composite to alpha channel. And now you'll see it's all white. So I'm going to take my eyedropper, and when I click on my eyedropper, I get the green again. I'm going to click on a spot that looks like it's pretty common, like a color that's very common in my green screen, and I'm gonna select that. And now it goes back to alpha channel. And as you can see, there's a little bit of white here and some white here and a touch over in this corner. So it's not a perfect key, and there's a little bit of dark fringing around this shoulder. So we can improve on this. I'm gonna undo what I just did with the alpha channel and reselect in another spot to see if I can do any better. And you can see that it's going a little bit better. Let me try in another spot. Ooh, right here. Look at this. Look at this. Very little issue down here. There's just a touch of issue right here, but that's very removable, and a little bit of a problem up in the corner. But the corner is not an issue because my head never goes, or my body never goes into that corner. So it's very, very easy to fix. Now what we're going to want to do is go down into matte generation. And we're going to want to adjust our shadows and our highlights. The highlights, you can drop them. It doesn't do a ton, but as you can see, if I raise the highlights, you'll see some issues. And the shadows, they can try dropping them. Now, look at that. You can see my shirt start to show through if I drop the shadows too far. So we don't want to go too far with the shadows, but then, well, it looks like right where they were at 50, is probably the best, so there isn't much we can do about that. There are other settings. That is not it. We can go to contrast, and now raise your contrast. And look at that. Boom. All of a sudden, we got a really, really clean image. You don't want to go too far with your contrast, so find it where it just gets rid of your imperfections. And right there, around 45, it looks like I have no more imperfections, which is really, really nice because I didn't have to crank the contrast too much, but it already looks really good. And now that we have that done, I can switch back to composite, and bingo, there is our key. And doesn't that look amazing? Before we go any further, I want you to take a quick look at the colors over here. Look at the green screen is now gone, and you see red, green, and blue all on 0, which means that there is no color. The flatter this line is, the better the key. So you can take a look at this, and as you can see, there's a touch of a bit of color over in this corner, but not an issue. It won't be seen by anybody. So now let's add in that image. What you're going to want to do is take your video clip and drag it up to the second line of video. That's your video track 2. And then take your image and plop it right down on video track 1. And now extend the image as far as you want so that you're now in front of the image. So that is basically all you need to know about editing green screen footage. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos.